Welcome. It is wheat planting time. The 1955 never got unhooked from the drill, so why start now? That starter solenoid's been hanging up, but I got a new one. Now I just need to get around and put it on. So I'm gonna do with the little stick man. We'll punch up the exhaust so you don't see what I'm doing. And you want to mock me? Copy me? I love hearing that turbo spool up. Spooled up, then when the oil hit it, it slowed back down some. This injection pump needs the same seals I did on the 1655 earlier this year. Got all sorts of projects to do. Never, ever a dull moment. Wheat ain't gonna plant itself. Just put a new battery in this. Thank you, Alan. We robbed the battery out of this so he could drive his 1755 in the 4th of July parade. And, oh yeah, lots of room. Well, let's see. If you watched last week's video, I was harvesting beans. Did some disking, dumped some wagons, all sorts of activities. And I just tried running some beans. We had a good heavy dew, some very light sprinkles overnight. Sprinkled early on, then the clouds went away, the temperature dropped, heavy dew. So everything was good and wet. And it's now the afternoon, and I just went and tried running some beans. And the grain is dry, but boy, they were just fighting their way through the combine. Hey, there was a neighbor farmer. And so I was creeping along just to run what I did run, and then even then it was, the rotor overload light was flashing more often than I like. So I thought, well, I've got ground ready to plant wheat on. Why beat up the combine? Tell that joke, why did the Oliver cross the road? Get to the other side. And we're off. Planting the wheat. The stuff to the right I won't plant today. That's where I'm going to put the test plot. But I need to get headlands and edges planted for that. So, and it's only going to be, you know, we usually end up with about 5 acres at the most. So, you know, not shattering, but since it's Saturday, I'm not going to call them up and bug them. But should be doing that here this coming week, which was, you know, for you guys last week. And decide which tractor to put on the drill, but I'll get the smaller Great Plains drill out for that. It just works nice. Time I had wheat out here, there was a couple of bald eagles fighting over a raccoon carcass. It's kind of neat. I probably mentioned it in that video. Yeah, the sun poked out for just a second, then the clouds ate it back up. I don't know. Oh, there's a blotch of sunshine over there. I don't know if stuff will dry out enough to run beans yet today or not. I guess I'll see how they feel after I get done with this. But this is only going to take a couple hours to get planted what I've got worked up so far. disking, it'd probably be all right. And yeah, it's held up good. I haven't noticed any, I haven't had any washouts or just trying to always have something growing on it or don't work it up. Should have hopped on the skid steer and come and push this branch off, but I got lazy. Damn it. Fourth direct. That's got me just under 5 miles an hour. Not wide open. Let me see. 2100 RPM. Oh yeah, I don't think I finished the story about the battery. Get a little laundry there, but so anyways, we put the battery for this in Allen 1755. Alan bought me a new battery for this, so that was very nice. I wouldn't think of Alan. Oh, I can hear that squeak back there. There's like a rock between a couple of blades. Up ahead here is my uncle and aunt's farm. Was my dad's sister. Dad's been gone for, well, 30 years in December now. Hard to believe. They started their own farm right over here. It's right across the road from this field. And next summer, I'm sure my cousin will be thrilled because he has hogs and is always looking for a place to put manure, but it will be right across the road. We'll be able to make good time. And I always give them some straw for their horses. They bale it, but I windrow some up, so they got something for the horses. I get some manure out of the deal. And there's some blue up there. Who knows? Maybe by the time I get done with this, I can run a few acres or something. Every little bit's a little step closer. Or I can go in and edit video for tomorrow that I haven't done yet. It's keep me from having to be up all night doing that. So we'll see. One way or another, I got stuff to keep me busy. When I first got this drill, people said 30 feet, you're gonna need a big four-wheel drive, which I got four-wheel drive. So let's see how it does on the steep hill here. Makes some 310 noise. I should open the window. See, we were in fourth direct doing about 5 miles an hour. I turn around once I get at the top of the hill too. Lost about 200 RPM. Didn't have to shift it down until I wanted to turn around. It is a damp and foggy morning. Whoa. The 1550 utility is out because we're going to plant the test plot this morning while we're waiting for things to dry out. There it is. We planted 10 varieties. Drill's clean back out, put that away, and go run some beans. I should have looked at the acre counter. But probably 6 or 7 acres, I would guess, just from the number of bags we used. Well, we got the test plot planted, and Scott brought back the weigh wagon. So I am doing a calibration right now. What it does is tells me what it thinks the grain weighs. So like right now, we're running 1,077 pounds, and then we'll weigh it and find out what it actually weighed. Then you punch that number in, and it can calculate how to read that sensor properly. You got to really do it for every crop, and you got to redo it every so often. But there's just a paddle in there with a potentiometer, I don't know, but as the grain hits it, kind of changes the frequency, the resistance, something in that order. And from that information, it can figure out how many pounds of crop have gone through there. You tell it how much crop weighs per bushel. It does math, and then it can tell you, enter the width of your cut. We're doing 25 feet here, and it figures out the ground speed, more math, carry the 1, and it will instantly tell you what you're yielding per acre. And I got a pretty good dip right here, so I like to slow down so the header height can adjust without sometimes it needs that extra time when it's that quick of a change. That might just be more the old combine. This one seems to compensate. I don't know. If it changes height too quick, then it's always readjusting because it just overshoots its mark. So then it comes back down, overshoots its mark. So there's certain speed that it has to go up and down. And then we got the lateral tilt part here where we got a waterway or former waterway. That corner hit the low spot before this corner, but the combine was back on other ground, so it can tell the difference between the sensors on each end and tilt the whole head one way or another to best follow the contour of the ground. With the old combine and the 18-foot head, I would leave a little bit of beans on one end or the other. This does a really good job of flexing and getting it to where it's at the right angle to follow the ground properly. If I can get a little closer. Someone asked in the comments on previous video why I was leaving or not using the whole width of the head. And it's because I was driving with a camera in my hand and give myself a little margin of error, especially the first day getting back into the groove. There. Now I'm using it all. But it was once again foggy this morning, and I first dove in and it was saying 17%. It's already down to 16.5, so the sun's drying it fast. I've got air in my bin. We'll blend this in with other stuff, but if the sun wasn't out, I probably wouldn't run today because it's crazy. When I finished up last night, it was a little after dark. Things were starting to get tough. It wasn't cutting good. Wrapping around the reel. Called it a night, and the moisture of the grain was, I don't know, 12 something. We're down around 12, and so it gave 5% moisture just with that fog that rolled in overnight and didn't leave until almost, I think, 10, 11 o'clock. And then the sun did break out, but even in all that time, so I wonder how wet these beans were when the fog finally did leave. It's warm out there. It says 76, but it lies. And it's supposed to be 72 for a high today. I bet it's right up around that now. We are up to 4,900 and 5,000 pounds. It says we've run. Might take a couple of dumps. I don't think that weigh wagon can hold that much. I bet we'll be up around, well, should be over 10,000 pounds by the time we get back there. Assuming this field is the same length going each direction. Could be like, you know, back in the good old days when school was uphill both ways in the snow. Alright, we'll report back when we get to the weigh wagon. Well, it's making dust like it's dry. Let's see, it says we made 10,940 pounds. I bet it's probably not quite that. It's going to be lower than that. See if it all fits. Oh yeah, wow. $83.94, and he's checking moisture for me. $83.94. Okay, so we go over here. Boop. 839. We'll go with 3 since it keeps bouncing back and forth between 92 and 94. New yield factor of 76.7. Whoa. It was reading high. Well, that's kind of sad. But at least we'll know the truth. Now let's see what he gets for moisture, and I can... Well, I've got my new data entered. Now we're going to run another test and see how close it comes. My moisture tester was definitely reading high. That's, yeah, we're only around about 13%, which is about perfect. Oh, they seem kind of dusty to be that wet. When they were going in the wagon. It's still saying, if I put that in, if this is accurate, doing about 65 bushel an acre, bouncing back and forth higher and lower from that, which is still a good number in my book. $68, $62, 65, 68. It's the average we're really after. Put that back in that mode. Yep. Gonna be just over 4,000 pounds in one pass. Go back. That's gonna put us somewhere in the same amount that we had last pass, according to the weigh wagon. Now let's. I got to turn around. Okay, it says this time time, 7,964. The roads are getting a little shorter because it comes out of an angle. Got into an area that was probably wet, so should be pretty accurate. $79.64, $81.38. So not a big difference, but the recalibrate the moisture, so that might change it just a little bit. 81. We're gonna go with 38. And pushes the yield factor from 76.7 to 78.3. We will accept that. There we are, recalibrated. Probably much more believable numbers, somewhere in the 65, 62, 63. Still, good stuff. More consistent with reality. Got some sprayer blight here. Most of the sprayer tracks didn't kill the beans, but it can be a little soft here. So I bet they probably had a little squish going on. And it kind of looks like it over there. You go over beans when they're small, they'll bounce right back. They start getting where they got that main stem, and they'll snap off and die. So you'll see tracks in bean fields, and that is the price you pay to try to get what you lose is not as much as what you gain, or something like that. You gain more than you lose by being out there. So you live with the tracks, and if you have to go out again, you try to drive in the same track so you don't kill more crop. Should be able to get this field done tonight without any problems. I hope I didn't just jinx myself. Again, odd shapes. What do? You farm it. So this stuff in here will take longer, take as long as the rest of the field. There's so much, you know, going and stopping and going, turning around. Let's dig out something cool to run the auger. First, I gotta move the trailer out of the way. All right. Probably should have grabbed a can of ether. We'll see how good it starts. It's getting kind of cold out already. Didn't exactly get warm today either. Cleaned right up. Yeah, it's gonna get tough pretty quick. Here, by the time I get this dump, it ain't gonna be worth driving all the way back to the field, so we'll get the 990 out and play with it. Now I gotta get the 1550 out of the way. So many obstacles to having my fun. We'll give her a little choke. Like I said, it's cooling off fast. Saying some patchy frost tonight. We are unhooked. I'm very low on gas. Another reason to switch tractors. I need to buy some more gasoline. There's a forklift doing its job, a job. Get that dumping, and then I can, you know, start putting other stuff away. Back, whatever. All right. Turn, baby, turn. We'll give her a little bit more. Go easy at first, let her warm up. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. time of year where I forget where I left the GoPro, so I'm recording this with a phone. I know the one GoPro is in the combine, the other one's in the shop. I wonder if that's the rock. There's something there. It's about where I noticed it. I was disking 2 days ago with the 4225. Out in this area. Turn around and look, and two of the C-springs that hold the disc gangs on the front gang were broken. There was only 1 out of 3 holding it on. And just had like not even 10 acres left here and a few acres over in that field. So I just parked that one, hooked the 2155 up to the 18-foot disc impactor and finished this up. And of course I did not think about getting the phone out to record it, and I'd left GoPros scattered around the farm everywhere but where I was. So no footage of the 2155 in action. Sorry about that. It handled that 18-foot disc like it wasn't back there. Fourth direct, about 1800 RPM. That put me up around 5 miles an hour. I try to stay 5 or less because I've noticed anything over that and the rocks really start taking advantage of the tillage tools. So maybe next summer after the wheat comes off from this field and above fields. I did a video on this field back in the spring, in late May. So somewhere around 4.5 months ago, planting these soybeans. Now here I am planting the same field again. Seems like I'd figured this out, but it will be wheat. It's supposed to get rain over the weekend, so I want to get this wheat done so it can get growing. And it's supposed to be a warm rain even, so that'll be good for getting her on the go. Oh, am I crooked? Nope. Maybe a little bit. Yeah, I'm overlapping somehow. That's the problem with trying to make a video and plant straight rows. Just a little too much overlap there. So I'll probably put you down before I waste a bunch of seed, and I should have just enough on a fill up to plant this field. Just about the same size as what I'd fill up with plants. So, you know, hey, but if I start overlapping much, that'll change. So, you know, we'll be back. Well, I got that field done. Just barely. It was starting to run out on that last pass. Close enough. It was right by the trees where it's not going to do much anyways. Got the 1600 power in the seed wagon. It's probably somewhere close to my age, maybe older. Still kicking. Alright, I gotta move again. Now there's some sandhill cranes out there, probably, you know, trying to eat the stuff I've already planted. Nature at work. Let's hear that 1600 purr before, you know, I have to run back and, you know, starts running over, something crazy like that. So if you watch the raking video, oh, she's running over. Woohoo! The worst splits are on the inside. Oh, look down there. They're angry. Keep my eye out for something, or just I guess buy new ones. We'll see what I can find. Too bad. I really like those. You know, they're not original. They're original style. Well, I guess, you know, things worked out somewhat for the best. Filled up the drill. Wagon was almost empty. Took that over and put the last of the seed in the wagon. Went in, grabbed a bite to eat, come back. Go to start this up, turn on the key. And magic smoke starts coming out of the dash. It had been fine when I shut it off. And so I run over here and gave the battery cable a good old twist. And got that off from there. Only seems to do it when the key is on. Even when the battery's hooked up. So what I am going to do to get this out of the way is disconnect the alternator. Right now the battery's unhooked. And then the upside of this being such an old tractor is I should have grabbed the GoPro while I was in the shop grabbing a crescent wrench. But no, I'm using a phone again. How can I get the stupid crescent wrench? All right, but I'm going to disconnect that, tape it off, and then hook up the battery long enough to do things I shouldn't with the starter to make it start. Then disconnect the battery. The electrical system will be totally unhooked, and I should be able to, get it out of the field and switch to the 2155. I almost switched to running beans, and I thought, it's supposed to rain tomorrow. I want to get this wheat done. It's not supposed to rain until the afternoon. Something could go wrong, and I don't, something eats up my time. Like this. And so, yeah, I guess it's a good thing I'm working on getting this done. Yeah, I came around this side, getting ready to, I'd turn the key on, and I was going to do my bypass the starter thing that you shouldn't do. Because, well, it, maybe that's my wiring problem. I'm not going to show it happening. Now I'm going to disconnect the battery. So there's no further struggles there. I think I'll tape off that ground cable. But there should be no juice in the electrical system now. No alternator hooked up, no battery hooked up. I'll park it outside for now to make sure something ain't smoldering in there and doesn't take a whole barn with it. Or maybe I'll, hose it down. I don't know. There's no more smoke. It's been a few minutes, so I think she's out. I caught it before it got bad enough to do, bad things. I don't know what I do with my gloves. All right, I'm going to put it to stop, recording. Yeah, definitely something you wouldn't be doing with a modern tractor. Firing it up and running it with an electrical problem. And no electrical system hooked up. You could probably also say a modern tractor wouldn't have had the electrical problem because it's not so old. And there may be truth to that, but the tractor's half the age of this one. That wiring, shoot, new stuff. Let's be serious. Anything with wires and electricity, it's got the potential. Let's go get the 2155 and get the rest of this wheat planted. Yeah, now we have a GoPro. A little easier to work with because it's got a magnetic base on it. And I guess you get to see the 2155 work after all. I wonder how fast it'll start. Hopefully without, the magic smoke coming out. hopefully that's all of our excitement for today. That 5-gallon bucket in front of Herman, that was out by the road this morning. Like someone parked in the end of our driveway and lost their bucket. There's a 1955. No smell of smoke anymore, battery's unhooked. We'll let her sit out there for a while, and maybe I'll give it a quick wash before I park it indoors or something, but gonna have to take some sheet metal off, pull the fuel tank, and then you gotta tip the cab up to get the tank out on those. It's a tight fit. So that's a winter project. I can just add it to the list. We'll see when all went wrong, whether it needs a whole new harness or just repair what got shorted out. But it's something that has power, but is not fused. The gauges are fused, so they should have blown their fuse unless it was before the fuse that the short's at. Lights have a fuse, and most everything has a fuse. But it's after the key, because it's stopped as soon as I turned the key back off. Oh, you know, I guess I'll just keep thinking, but there's something in there that's got power that wasn't fused, or it would have blown a fuse. All right, take two. Everything's hooked up. See if I can see where I left off. That's off. All right, 2155, do your thing. And we're planting wheat. Crisis averted for now. All right, everybody say, you know, some well wishes for the 1955. But I'm gonna get back to planting, or I am back to planting. Here's the 2155 in action. Teased you about it earlier, and it just forced its way onto the scene. Probably, you know, sabotage the 1955 so we could get out here and plant some wheat. Fortunately, it has its own monitor, so I don't have to move that. All right. We'll talk again. Well, it's still there, hasn't burst into flames. It's been, I don't know, about 3 hours. So that's a good sign that, you know, there's nothing smoldering. I got thinking there is one circuit that kind of doesn't have a fuse, and that's the wire that goes from the key up to the cab to power the fan for the heater. I think that's about the only thing up there. And it has a fuse up above, but from the key up to the top of the cab, I don't think there would be a fuse. And there was smoking at the lower left corner there, and then some out of the dash. And I had the fan on high, so when I turned that key on, it was drawing a good... Now I gotta back this in here. So that's my first guess, is the key that the wire that powers the cab is what decided to wear through somewhere. Which, hopefully that's a simple enough fix. We'll find out in a future video. Good job, 2155. The wheat is all on the ground. Who would have thought October 17th? I should have put a little air conditioning mojo in there. It's getting a little warm in the cab. Still a little wheat left in the drill, but that's fine because, oh, you know, I might have some spots I need to touch up, but for some reason or other I didn't do good or something. And there's a little bit left in the wagon, so I'll leave them. Some neighbor might need a little to finish up their wheat, or if it gets to it, I will just take it out and plant it in as some cover crop before things freeze up. But not today. Enough excitement for today. Let's get to 1955 and where the 2155 was. Yeah, the first place I got smoked was down in this corner, and there's this yellow wire that kind of comes around the corner there. There's the fan and the radio up there. And I'm betting that's what was going on. When I get done fixing it, it will have a fuse down lower. What I'm going to do now, battery's still disconnected, is this obviously ain't the problem, or it would have kept on smoking without the key on. Come on. I'm going to take off the power lead that comes from the starter and goes up to the key. And then I'm also going to take off the wire that goes to engage the solenoid. And that way no power can backfeed whatsoever in the harness. And I can start it up and pull it in without fear of something shorting out in the dash, because it will be totally dead. The only place it'll have power is right here at the starter. Here's our battery cables. Well, and the monitor for the planter monitor, but that's totally isolated. So it'll be good. It'll be fine. So we'll put that back there. Yeah, that nut was loose. Maybe that's why my key wasn't turning the starter or gauging it right. All right. No alternator hooked up. I can hook up the battery long enough to crank it over, fire it up, unhook the battery, get it in the barn until it can be worked on and given a bath. Woo! Make sure it's a neutral. Don't try it at home. All right, let's get her in there. I'll re-disconnect the battery and it can have a slumber until I can get to it. I was like, why isn't the parking brake light flashing at me? There's no power. Tach doesn't take power. Oil pressure gauge doesn't take power. Purely mechanical. Oh, that gets close to the tire. Let's close that. It's all right, 1955. We'll get you better. Yep. We've got lights, instruments, and then there's fuses up here for white, or a wiper, the blower, dome light. So yep, I bet you dollars the donuts. And that wire would be not part of the harness since the cab was an option. So it's probably wandering around in there a little looser than the other wires. If that's the case, I'll run a whole new wire up. Try to do something to protect it a little bit. I might use like a a jacketed wire, you know, something like an extension cord almost, but you know, something like that where it's got an extra sheath on the outside to protect it from any of that. We don't want to try out our insurance. Not if we don't have to. There we go for posterity. The ground cable is totally unhooked. So there should be no chance of an electrical fire, at least not from itself. Whew. That could have been a lot worse. All right, let's go get the 1600 in the wagon, bring that back, put that in. Well, the sun is going down pretty quick. So I think since, gotta make old man noises when I climb up on tractors. Since, words that I was gonna say, oh, it's almost dark. The combine and stuff is at home. When I finished up the last field, I stopped here to be able to fuel it up before moving on to the next location. So rather than moving it to the next location and having it sit in the rain for the next couple of days, I'm going to go ahead and stuff stuff in the barn for tonight. If it looks like I can run some beans tomorrow, I can just get it back out. If not, it's done. They don't have to, they're saying 2 inches of rain or a little more for our area, which we could actually use it. The ground will soak it up. Listen to that. It'll get this wheat growing, so it's nice to have that all done. I'm glad I stuck with the wheat. I thought about quitting wheat and switching to running beans while the sun was out, but wheat definitely took longer than I was planning, and I don't think I would have gotten it all done if I'd switched till tomorrow and before the rain got here. So then I would have been upset with myself for, you know, not staying with the wheat. It's one of those, there's no right decision, there's no wrong decision. I don't know. Sooner or later, you just got to make a decision. I think I'll move the 990 to the shop, and then I can put the pickup in here. Keep it out of the weather. It's supposed to get kind of nasty. Thunderstorms, strong winds. So yeah, if I put this in the shop with the rainy days I got coming, I'll have time to work on the Super 99, and well, I can kind of look over at this to, you know, if I got any questions about how the PTO mounts. Yeah, that's it. A little warmer today. I'd like to think it'll start a little better. I'd like to think that. We'll give it a little minute for that heat that I just generated to soak into things, and for that cloud to settle upon us of almost raw diesel fuel. It's kind of spooky, like Halloween. Let's give it another. I was gonna say we gotta get off and look at that. I guess we still can. The sheet metal isn't on the Super 99, so it ain't gonna be quite as impressive, but still. As you can see, I have been working on it. That'll be its own video. All right, 990. I think we'll call that good. Probably more video in all this than I realized, and it'll end up being long, or was long, because this is the end. And if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. That helps my channel when people watch the whole thing. Not just watching, but watching all the way through. Who would have known? So I appreciate it, and hope to see you in the next one.